So I think the story of Norma Desmond is as relevant as ever.
Yes, this is Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the Homicide Squad, complete with detectives and newspapermen. A murder has been reported from one of those great big houses in the 10,000 block. You'll read about it in the late editions, I'm sure. You'll get it over your radio and see it on television. Because an old-time star is involved. One of the biggest. But before you hear it all...
Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard is the portrait of a forgotten silent star, living in exile in her grotesque mansion, screening her old films, dreaming of a comeback. But it's also a love story, and the love keeps it from becoming simply a freak show. On its release in August 1950, Sunset Boulevard punched its own industry in the face. At a star-studded private screening on the eve of the film's debut, MGM studio mogul Louis B. Mayer lambasted the film's Austrian-born director, Billy Wilder. "You befouled your own nest. You should be kicked out of this country, tarred and feathered. Goddamn foreigner son of a bitch." Wilder's response: "Why don't you go fuck yourself?" Sunset Boulevard is twice as chilling a film when you realize that Desmond made Paramount Studios a success, rather than the other way around. The movie cuts close to the bone, drawing so directly from life that many of the silent stars at the movie's premiere recognized personal details. In no character, not even Norma, does it cut closer than with Max von Mayerling, a once great silent director now reduced to working as the butler of the woman he once directed and was married to. Eeks.
Actually, face-to-face with Erich von Stroheim was when I did Sunset Boulevard. And we never spoke of Queen Kelly. In the whole 3 months that we were making Sunset Boulevard, I don't think we ever mentioned it to each other. We were glad to see one another, and it was a tremendous experience to work with him as an actor. When we started Sunset Boulevard, we didn't have a finished script. And so many suggestions were made, and von Stroheim, who couldn't help himself, he was creative, he made suggestions, and I can remember Billy Wilder saying, "Oh, that's wonderful, but it doesn't further the story, and we don't have the footage for it." But he came up with one. He came up with a magnificent idea that the fan mail that was sent to me, if you will recall, I thought was fan mail. He was writing them. This was von Stroheim's idea, and this was a magnificent idea. It was wonderful.
Wilder drew from real life when Norma visits Cecil B. DeMille at Paramount. The director is making a real film, Samson and Delilah, and calls Norma Little Fellow, which is what he always called Swanson. In one of the greatest of all film performances, Swanson's Norma skates close to the edge of parody. Swanson takes enormous chances with theatrical sneers and posturings, holding Norma at the edge of madness for most of the picture before letting her slip over. In some ways, Norma is like Judy Garland or Marilyn Monroe, a tattered but resilient icon of womanhood who fell victim to the studio system, then cast aside as she aged out of her nymph-like beauty. 21st century Hollywood, meanwhile, continues to weather fierce blowback for putting female actors, not named Meryl Streep, out to pasture around the age of 40. Sunset Boulevard seems strangely tailor-made to skewer our contemporary culture.
Glenn Close is a Hollywood icon who's conquered stage, screen, and television. She's headed back to Broadway to play the legendary Norma Desmond. It's a role she first took on with great success 22 years ago. It won her a Tony Award. Glenn, nice to see you.
Sunset Boulevard remains the best drama ever made about the movies, because it sees through the illusions, even if Norma doesn't.